Hello everyone, welcome to Mean Life Studies. In our previous video, I already shared a very important window functions in SQL. Those are rank, dense rank, row number, lead and lag. Now in this video, I'm going to share the remaining window functions. Those are first value, last value and end tails. Now I'm going to take one example data, that is transaction data. You can see here. Now how first value will work. Here, if we have data in ordered format, if you want to know what is the first result, then we will be using first value. Similarly, when we have ordered set of data, if you want to know the last value among all records, then we will be using last value. Okay. Next, n-tile. N-tile will divide a set of records into different tiles. Tiles is nothing but just groups. Okay. Now we will see one by one how first value will work. For example, here I'm just taking transaction data having different users and different transaction dates, transaction IDs and amount and type of transaction, right? So for example, now if you want to know what is the transaction first transaction date, right? So by looking at you can easily find it, right? But if we don't have the data like in not in ordered form, we cannot find it. But we should ensure that the data in ordered format. Okay, now let's see. Select star in the sense I'm returning all records, I mean all columns as well as first value. Okay, this first value we should mention. So for which column you are going to return the first value, either it could be user ID, a transaction ID, amount or whatever it could be, right? So you have to mention it. So I'm just using here transaction date, right? Now we have to use overclass. In overclass we should mention order by. So because of we should ensure that the data is any order. Okay, order by which column? So on this basis we are going to return this first value. So if you mention order by any particular column, on that particular order you are going to return the first value of transaction date. Okay, so for example, if you mention order by transaction date or transaction ID or whatever it could be, or else if you can mention amount, right, descending order, okay, as first value from transactions. Okay, now if I execute this query, what is this error? So I just keep ordered, right? So I have to keep ordered. Okay, order by this one. Now you can see here, what is the first transaction actually? We have different date, but here we are getting first value is 2024 June 5th, right? But if you look at this data, what is the minimum transaction date? I mean this one, June 1st, right? But we are getting first transaction date as June 5th because of we are ordered this data on the basis of amount of transaction in descending order. This is the highest amount, you can see 7,500. So on this particular column based, we are returning the first value. Now you can see, similarly, you can mention, now if you mention ascending order, if you remove descending order, by default that is ascending order, right? Now you can see we are getting June 2nd. This is the lowest amount, right? So all are getting same value, right? Because of this entire I'm considering as a single window. Since I have not mentioned anything as window, right? So even if I want to mention windows, I have to use partition by user ID. Okay. Now you can see here, for each user ID wise, we are returning the first value. I mean this 1000, right? 1000 is the minimum. For minimum means we are returning ordered by amount in ascending order, right? So this is the lowest in the sense first one, right? So this date we are going to return. You can see this date for each user ID. This amount is the, I mean, lowest amount date is returning. You can see all these dates for each user ID. You can see the lowest amount dates you are getting it. Right. Even if you want to mention descending order also, you can mention here descending order for each user. So that you will get the first value of transaction date of maximum. Here it is descending order, right? So the amount, transaction amount is higher for each user ID on that particular date will be written. You can see here. Here also, this is the highest amount for second user and this date you are going to return. Right. So even if you want to return the amount also, you can mention you are returning the amount, first amount that is ordered by descending order, right? So this will return the highest amount for each user ID. You can see for user ID 1, this is the higher amount. Second one, this is the higher amount. For third one, this is the higher amount. Likewise, it is going to return. That is how first value will work. Okay. Now, even if you want to mention any column, you can mention. No worries. Similarly, if you want to find the last value, select star, comma, last value of amount over, you should ensure that the data in order, right? Either it could be any order on any particular column. Okay, order by transaction date. Okay, has last value from transactions. Okay, now if you look at this data, how it is going to return See, we are ordered this data on the basis of transaction date, right? So that is why here, if you see June 1st to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so on, like this, right? So on this particular date wise, it is going to return the last date. So for this, what is the last date? It is considering as 1000. For this, it is considering as this is the last one, because of up to now it is going to check from this, from in the sense from starting to ending, right? So up to now only one record is there. This is how it is going to consider, but we should know already we have all data, right? So we should compare this one with this one up to this one, right? So we should ensure that there are all records, right? So that I'm going to return, I'm just considering rows between current record, current row, and unbounded. We don't know, right, how many it could be in real worlds. Here it is a 20, right? So in real world we don't know how many left are there. Those you have to compare, right? So unbounded following, right? Now if I execute this query, you can see here we are getting the last date. See here, order by transaction date, right? So order by transaction date, here I'm just mentioning not any order, right? So if you're not mentioning, by default it will consider as ascending order, right? So if that is ascending order, in the sense the last value would be the highest value, right? Highest date. So this is the highest date. Now you can see, so that what is that value? The 3000. So 3000 is returning for all. Okay, now if you mention date in descending order, how it is going to return? So it is descending order, right? So the first value would be this one, and the last value would be anything. Anything in the sense least one, right? So now if you look at this data, you will return the least value. You can see 1000 you are returning, because of you mentioned ordered entire data on transaction date in descending order, right? And you are comparing with the first record to last records, and how many are there? How many? All those you are going to compare, right? By mentioning rows between current record and rows and unbounded following. This means you are going to compare from the first to up to ending. Okay, this is how last value will work. Okay, now here you can mention anything. Here is amount, right? Even if you mind here also, you can mention anything, no problem. But here I'm not using partition by, right? So even if you want to mention partition by user id, same thing. Okay, so that it is going to return the last value for each user id. You can see for the first user id we are returning on the date, ordered on the basis of transaction date in descending order, right? So descending order, in the sense the last value would be the lowest date. So lowest date value would be here. For first user id, what is the lowest date? That is 1, right? So this amount will be replicated for all users. So similarly in second user, what is the minimum date? So that is second. So second value we are returning, right? So this amount, 500 will be returned here. Okay, even if you want to mention transaction date itself, you can return that also. You can see what is that first transaction or last transaction, you can find it, right? Here you can see, here we are returning last value on the basis of ordered by transaction date in descending order, right? So that is written, isn't it, is returning the first value, last value, in the sense you are returning ordered by date in descending order. So that is why this one will works as last value. So even if you want to mention that last value, just remove this one, so that the date will be ordered in ascending order, so that now you will get the highest value for each user id. You can see for each user id you are getting the highest one. Now you can see, if you mention order by transaction date in ascending order, this is the highest for user ID 1. This is the highest for user ID 2. Likewise, it is going to return. This is how last value will work.